The penthouse office sat 40 stories above Seoul's glittering skyline, rain lashing against floor-to-ceiling windows. Lightning briefly illuminated the space, revealing a woman pinned against the glass, her breath fogging the surface behind her. Kang Jae-min's grip tightened around her wrist, his face inches from hers. "Tell me the truth," he growled, voice dangerously low. "Who sent you?" Amara Okoye didn't flinch, despite the painful grip on her wrist. Despite being cornered by one of Seoul's most dangerous men, her dark eyes remained steady. "No one sent me," she replied, her Nigerian accent more pronounced under stress. "But you might want to check who's been sleeping in your own house." His eyes narrowed, confusion briefly replacing rage. "What are you talking about?" Lightning flashed again, illuminating the thin trail of blood running down her temple. "Your sister's fiancé. He's the one who—" The sound of the door opening cut her off. 6 weeks earlier. "Hey there, you're welcome to my channel. If you're new here, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss out on my storytelling videos. This one's about to get intense, so stick around. Now, back to our story." The arrival hall at Incheon International Airport bustled with activity as Amara Okoye navigated through the crowd, pulling her carry-on suitcase behind her. Her dark braids were neatly tied back, her posture perfect despite the 14-hour flight from Lagos. The cybersecurity specialist had spent the journey reviewing the contract that had brought her halfway across the world, an opportunity too lucrative to pass up. 3 months. That's how long Han-Tech Solutions needed her expertise to overhaul their security systems. 3 months of the highest salary she'd ever been offered, enough to cover her mother's medical treatments for the next year. A man in a black suit stood at the exit, holding a sign with her name. His face remained expressionless as she approached. "Ms. Okoye, I'm Kim Sung-ho. I'll be taking you to the company." The drive into Seoul was mostly silent, giving Amara time to absorb the neon-lit cityscape. So different from Lagos, yet with the same underlying energy of a metropolis that never truly slept. "First time in Korea?" Sung-ho asked, breaking the silence. "Yes. I've worked remotely with Asian companies before, but never on site. Han-Tech will be different from what you might expect." Something in his tone made her glance at him, but his eyes remained fixed on the road. They pulled up to a sleek skyscraper in Gangnam's business district, its glass exterior reflecting the city lights. The lobby seemed standard until Amara noticed the subtle details. The security guards were too alert, too physically fit to be regular personnel. The reception desk required facial recognition along with ID badges. The elevator needed both a keycard and a fingerprint scan. "Your quarters will be on the 32nd floor," Sung-ho explained as they ascended. "The company provides accommodations for international specialists. Your workspace is on 34. Mr. Kang's office is on the 40th floor. You'll only go there if specifically summoned." "Mr. Kang? I thought I was working with Director Park from the contract." Sung-ho's expression remained neutral. "Director Park oversees security. Mr. Kang oversees everything." Her apartment was surprisingly luxurious. Modern furnishings, floor-to-ceiling windows, and every amenity she could need. After Sung-ho left, Amara unpacked her essentials and set up her laptop, connecting to the secured Wi-Fi network provided in her welcome package. She called her mother immediately. The video connection showed a woman in her 60s, sitting up in a hospital bed in Lagos. "Amara, you've arrived safely?" Her mother's voice was weak but warm. "Yes, Mama. Everything's fine. How are you feeling today?" "Better. The doctors say the new medication is working. Don't worry about me." But Amara did worry. The advanced lymphoma treatment was expensive, and as an only child with no father in the picture, the burden fell entirely on her shoulders. This contract wasn't just an opportunity, it was a lifeline. "I'll call tomorrow, okay? I start work early." After ending the call, Amara explored the building's employee information on her company tablet. Han-Tech Solutions appeared to be a legitimate security consulting firm on paper, but something felt off. Their client list included businesses she recognized as fronts for more questionable operations. The security protocols were military-grade, excessive for a standard consulting firm. Her suspicions grew when she discovered a restricted server during her system analysis the next morning. It was labeled Black Lotus Operations, completely separate from the company's main infrastructure and protected by encryption she'd only seen in government-level security. "Finding your way around?" Amara nearly jumped at the voice. A woman had appeared beside her desk, Strikingly beautiful, expensively dressed, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. Yes, thank you. I'm just familiarizing myself with the systems. Amara quickly switched screens. I'm Kang So-yeon. My brother owns this company. The woman smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. We've never hired from Africa before. Your credentials must be impressive. I've worked with financial institutions and tech companies in 6 countries, Amara replied evenly. Cybersecurity doesn't have a nationality. Of course not. So-yeon studied her for a moment. Welcome to Seoul, Ms. Okoye. I hope you find everything educational. As So-yeon walked away, Amara couldn't shake the feeling she'd just been assessed rather than welcomed. Through the glass walls of her workspace, she noticed someone watching from the corner of the floor. A tall man with broad shoulders and an intense gaze. When their eyes met, he didn't look away. Instead, he nodded slightly before disappearing down a hallway. Later that afternoon, Amara discovered surveillance feeds in a subfolder while mapping the network architecture. Live footage from around the building, including her own apartment. She immediately coded a simple program to loop empty room footage in her private quarters. By day 3, she'd confirmed her suspicions. Hantech was a sophisticated front. The legitimate business handled actual security consulting, but behind it operated something much larger. A network that touched shipping, real estate, and several industries she couldn't fully identify yet. On her 4th day, the alarm went off. Red lights flashed through the office as a computerized voice announced a security breach. Staff moved with practiced efficiency to secure terminals. Amara's screen locked automatically. Ms. Okoye. A man appeared at her workspace, the same one who had been watching her earlier. I'm Park Do-won, Director of Security. Mr. Kang wants to see you. Now? Her heart raced as the elevator climbed to the 40th floor. Had they discovered her snooping? The doors opened to reveal a minimalist space. Black marble floors, sparse furnishings, and those same floor-to-ceiling windows showcasing Seoul's skyline. Park Do-won led her to massive double doors, knocked once, and opened them without waiting for a response. The office was unexpectedly traditional compared to the modern building. Dark wood, Korean art pieces, and in the center, an imposing desk where Kang Jae-min sat reviewing documents. He didn't look up immediately. Amara had a moment to study him. Early 30s, impeccably dressed in a charcoal suit, with features that would be considered handsome if not for the coldness they projected. When he finally raised his eyes to hers, she understood why people feared him. Those eyes held nothing, no warmth, no curiosity, just calculation. Ms. Okoye. His English was perfect, his voice deep and controlled. You've been with us 4 days. What have you learned? The question was a trap. Amara chose her words carefully. Your network architecture is impressive, but has vulnerabilities in the external authentication protocols. I've identified 17 potential breach points and drafted solutions for 12 so far. He studied her silently. And what else have you learned? Again, careful words. That Hantech Solutions is more complex than its public profile suggests. A hint of something, amusement perhaps, flickered across his face. Do you know what Black Lotus Operations is? So he knew she'd found it. Amara's pulse quickened, but her expression remained neutral. No, sir. I discovered encrypted servers under that designation, but couldn't access them without authorization. Couldn't? Or chose not to. Security specialists who break into restricted areas without permission aren't typically trusted, she replied evenly. I was hired to protect your systems, not exploit them. Jae-min leaned back slightly. You were recommended by Jang Wei in Hong Kong. He said you were the best he'd ever seen. Also the most ethical, which I found curious. Ethics and skill aren't mutually exclusive, Mr. Kang. In my experience, they often are. He stood, walking to the window. Hantech Solutions is the legitimate face of the Kang Group. We have business interests across Asia. By business interests, you mean organized crime, Amara stated flatly. The room went silent. Park Do-won tensed beside her. Jae-min turned slowly. That's very direct, Ms. Okoye. I don't waste time with pretense. The security systems I'm upgrading protect more than corporate secrets, so I needed to know what I was actually hired to do. And now that you know, my contract is to secure your systems, regardless of what they contain. I'll do that job. What you do with those systems isn't my concern. A ghost of a smile touched his lips. Pragmatic. Realistic, she corrected. Everyone has something they protect at all costs. For you, it's your organization. For me... She stopped herself. His eyes narrowed. For you? Before she could answer, a sharp crack echoed from outside. Gunfire. Then another. The building's security alarm activated instantly. Jamin moved with unexpected speed, pulling Amara away from the windows as Park Do-won drew his weapon. Status! Jamin barked into a communication device that appeared in his hand. Warning shots from a vehicle on the east side, came the response. Target is moving south on Gangnam-daero, pursuit in progress. The sudden movement had caught Amara off balance. Her heel caught on the edge of the rug, snapping with a crack. She stumbled forward, grabbing at a nearby chair as her dress, a navy wrap style, tore slightly along the seam. Jamin caught her arm, stabilizing her. The alarm still blared as he assessed for injury, dropping to one knee to check her ankle where the broken heel had twisted. Are you hurt? The office door swung open. Madam Kang Hee-rin stood in the doorway, elegant in traditional Korean hanbok, her expression shifting from urgency to shock as she took in the scene. Her son kneeling before this foreign woman, holding her ankle, the woman's dress torn. The tableau held for 3 excruciating seconds before Jamin stood, his face immediately resuming its cold mask. Mother, the situation is under control. Madam Kang's eyes never left Amara. I see that it is, she replied, her English precise and cutting. When you're finished with your guest, the Tokyo representative is waiting in the conference room. She left without another word. Jamin stepped back, professional distance restored. My security team will escort you to your floor, Ms. Okoye. We'll continue our discussion another time. As Amara limped slightly toward the door, she heard him add, And Ms. Okoye, I would appreciate discretion regarding our conversation. By morning, the rumors had begun. Amara felt the stares as she walked through the office, hushed conversations that stopped when she approached, glances that assessed her with new speculation. In the break room, she overheard 2 employees speaking in Korean, not realizing she understood enough after years of working with Korean tech firms. On his knees in front of her, Madam Kang walked in and nearly collapsed. She's only been here a week. How did she manage that? African women have ways. My cousin dated one in university, said they use special perfumes too. Amara loudly set down her coffee cup, making both men jump. She smiled thinly. The perfume I use is from Paris, actually, and I'd be happy to recommend a good language course where you could learn that many Africans speak multiple languages. She left them gaping. At her desk, a message appeared on her screen from an internal account. Meeting with Director Park, 15 minutes. Conference room C. Park Do-won was waiting when she arrived, along with So-yeon. The woman's expression was even colder than during their first meeting. Ms. Okoye, Park began formally, yesterday's incident was a security test. We periodically run scenarios to evaluate staff responses. A lie, but Amara nodded anyway. Of course. However, So-yeon interjected, the interaction between you and my brother has created misunderstandings. Misunderstandings? Some staff believe you have a personal relationship with Mr. Kang. This creates complications in our organization's hierarchy. Amara raised an eyebrow. Because he checked if I was injured. That seems like standard concern for an employee. My brother doesn't show concern for employees. So-yeon replied flatly. He doesn't kneel for anyone, ever. I see. And because he did. You assume I somehow engineered the situation? I don't assume anything, So-yeon said with a brittle smile. I investigate. The threat was clear. Amara turned to Park Do-won. Director Park, I was hired for my cybersecurity expertise. If my presence is creating problems, I'm happy to work remotely from my home country. Park cleared his throat. That won't be necessary. Your work has been exemplary. We merely wanted to clarify expectations. My expectations are simple. I do my job. I get paid. Anything beyond that is fiction. So-yeon leaned forward. We've reviewed your background, Ms. Okoye. Your mother's medical bills in Lagos. The monthly transfers that drain your accounts. Your scholarship history at MIT. Very impressive for someone from your circumstances. The invasion of privacy was expected, but still infuriating. Amara kept her voice level. My circumstances have made me who I am. They also taught me that people who have power often fear those who earn their own. So-yeon's eyes flashed. My brother built this organization after our father was betrayed by someone he trusted. Someone who claimed to care for him. Someone foreign. Now they reached the heart of it. I'm not interested in your brother, Miss Kang. I'm interested in completing my contract and returning to my life. Good, Soyeon said, standing. Then we understand each other. She paused at the door. By the way, Madam Kang has requested your presence for dinner tomorrow night. Our family home. 7 p.m. A car will collect you. After she left, Park Do-won remained seated. Ms. Okoye, a word of advice. His voice had dropped, more personal than professional. Tread carefully. The Kang family has complicated dynamics. Why are you telling me this? He considered her for a moment. Because you're good at your job, and because not everyone here believes the rumors. Hey everyone! If you're enjoying this story, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel for more content like this. Drop a comment below telling me what you think will happen next. Now, let's get back to Amara and her dangerous situation. The Kang family estate sat in the hills outside Seoul, a traditional Korean hanok surrounded by immaculately maintained gardens. As the car approached, Amara mentally prepared herself. This wasn't a friendly dinner invitation, it was an interrogation. She'd chosen her outfit carefully. A modern take on traditional Nigerian attire, elegant but unmistakably African. If they wanted to highlight her foreignness, she would own it completely. A housekeeper led her through the courtyard to an inner dining room where the family waited. Madame Kang sat at one end of the low table, regal in midnight blue hanbok. Soyeon wore a designer dress, while Jaemin stood when Amara entered, his expression unreadable in his perfectly tailored black suit. Ms. Okoye, Madame Kang greeted with a practiced smile. Welcome to our home. The dinner began with elaborate formality. Amara navigated the unfamiliar customs as best she could, aware of Soyeon's eyes tracking every minor mistake, the way she held her chopsticks slightly incorrectly, how she hesitated before certain dishes. The conversation remained superficial until the main course arrived. Then, Madame Kang struck. Tell me, Ms. Okoye, what brought you to our company specifically? There must be many opportunities for someone with your skills. The contract was extremely competitive, Amara replied honestly, and I was intrigued by the challenge. Challenges can be dangerous, Madame Kang noted, speaking in Korean to Soyeon, especially when people don't understand the depths they're wading into. Amara responded in Korean, surprising them. Deep water only threatens those who cannot swim, Madame Kang. A flicker of surprise crossed the older woman's face. You speak our language. Enough to navigate. I've worked with Korean firms for years. Soyeon leaned forward. And what else have you worked with during those years? Other organizations like ours? Other men in positions like my brother's? The implication was clear. Jaemin set down his chopsticks, his jaw tightening, but said nothing. Amara met Soyeon's gaze directly. I understand your suspicion, Ms. Kang. 3 years ago, someone close to your family betrayed you. Someone your brother trusted. It nearly destroyed everything you built. The room went silent. Even Jaemin looked startled. How do you know about that? Soyeon demanded. I'm a security specialist. Information is my currency. Amara turned to Madame Kang. You believe I'm after your son, or your money, or your secrets. Let me be clear. If I wanted money, I would have taken the bribes I've been offered by competitors throughout my career. If I wanted secrets, which I could have copied your entire database the first day. I came here to build something, not steal something. Madame Kang studied her for a long moment. Then, unexpectedly, she laughed. A short, sharp sound. You are either very brave or very foolish, Ms. Oka. I've found those often look the same from the outside, Amara replied. After dinner, Jaemin suggested showing Amara the garden. The night air was cool as they walked in silence along stone paths between carefully pruned trees. You handled my mother well, he finally said. Few people stand their ground with her. I've faced scarier situations than dinner with disapproving parents. Have you? He stopped, turning to face her. My family isn't just disapproving, Ms. Okoye. They're dangerous. So am I, in my own way. She met his gaze steadily. Your sister investigated me. What did she find? A woman supporting her sick mother, a brilliant mind who rose from difficult circumstances. Someone with everything to lose if this contract falls through. Amara nodded slowly. And what does that tell you about my motivations? That you're either exactly what you appear to be or playing a very long game. They had reached a secluded part of the garden where a small pavilion overlooked the glittering city below. Jaemin gestured for her to sit. 3 years ago, he began, his voice distant, I trusted someone. Yuri Kim. She claimed to be from a small finance firm in Japan. She was brilliant, beautiful, and seemingly devoted to me. Amara stayed silent, listening. After 8 months together, I brought her into the family business, gave her access, believed her when she said she loved me. His face hardened. She was working for the Jin Syndicate. She stole encrypted financial records, transferred millions to offshore accounts. When my father confronted her, she had him shot. He survived? Barely. He never recovered fully. And leadership passed to me earlier than planned. Jaemin's hands tightened into fists. The Jin Syndicate used the stolen funds to expand into our territory, threatened our allies. We nearly lost everything. And Yuri? A cold smile. The Jin family didn't protect her as promised. They considered her expendable once they had what they wanted. Amara understood the implication. So now you see every woman as a potential threat. I see every person as a potential threat. He corrected. But women can access vulnerabilities others can't. Because you believe love is weakness. Love is leverage, and leverage gets people killed in my world. Amara stood, moving to the pavilion railing. Then stop loving women who want power. Love one who already has her own. The statement hung between them, charged with meaning beyond its words. Jaemin studied her, something shifting in his expression. Is that what you have, Amara? Your own power? It was the first time he'd used her first name. The intimacy of it was jarring. I built myself from nothing, she replied simply. Everything I am, I earned. I don't need to steal power from others. He stepped closer, close enough that she could feel the heat radiating from his body in the cool night air. For one breathless moment, she thought he might touch her. Instead, he simply said, We should return. The car will take you back to the building. The next week passed in a strange new rhythm. Amara continued her security work, making significant progress on the system upgrades. The rumors hadn't disappeared, but they'd evolved. Some staff now watched her with curiosity rather than suspicion. Jaemin called her to his office twice to review her work. Both meetings remained strictly professional, yet something had changed in their dynamic. A mutual respect, perhaps. Or something more complicated neither was ready to name. Then came the breach. Amara was working late, alone in her office, when the alert appeared on her screen. Unauthorized access to the financial servers. She immediately initiated lockdown protocols and called security. Park Dewan arrived within minutes, his expression grim as they traced the breach together. Someone transferred $20 million to an account in Macau, he reported. The system logs show it came from... He stopped, Xiu looking at her with sudden suspicion. From what? Amara demanded. Your terminal, your access codes. That's impossible. She pushed him aside, fingers flying across the keyboard. I've been working on the security patch all night. Check the building cameras. But when they pulled up the logs, they showed something damning. Amara's credentials accessing restricted financial data multiple times over the past week. Times when she'd been in her apartment. Or even at dinner with the Kang family. Someone cloned my access, she insisted. This is a setup. Park's face had closed off. Mr. Kang needs to see this. Jaemin's response was swift and cold. He reviewed the evidence in silence, his face betraying nothing as Amara tried to explain. Check my personal devices, she urged. If I were stealing from you, where would I hide $20 million? My mother lives in a hospital room. I live in your building. This makes no sense. What makes sense, he replied evenly, is that you gained my trust, accessed our systems, and executed exactly the kind of attack you were hired to prevent. The betrayal in his eyes hurt more than the accusation. Amara felt something crack inside her chest. You don't believe me. What I believe doesn't matter. Evidence matters. Evidence can be manufactured. She stood straighter. But trust has to be earned. I thought I'd earned yours. Something flickered in his expression. Doubt, perhaps? But it hardened again, almost instantly. Until we complete our investigation, you are restricted to your quarters. Your access is revoked. If we find you were involved... He didn't finish the threat. He didn't have to. Back in her apartment, Amara paced furiously. They'd taken her laptop, her tablet, even her phone, leaving her with nothing but building-monitored devices. She knew how this would end. The evidence would continue to point to her, because whoever had framed her knew exactly what they were doing. She had one option: leave. Using the limited access of her apartment computer, she booked a flight to Lagos, departing the next morning. Then she packed her few belongings, hiding her emergency passport and the cash she always kept ready. In the early hours before dawn, she left a resignation letter on the kitchen counter. Professional, unemotional, she had her pride even now. The building's night security didn't stop her from leaving. Her restrictions apparently didn't extend to physical movement. Outside, she hailed a taxi to take her to a hotel near the airport, where she waited for morning, replaying everything in her mind. She had missed something. Someone inside the organization had orchestrated this. Someone who wanted her gone, or needed a scapegoat. As she sat in the departure terminal, waiting for her flight to board, Amara scrolled through news on the public terminal. A headline caught her eye: a financial scandal involving a Korean tech entrepreneur who'd suddenly disappeared. The man's name was Lee Jin-ho. Below his photo was a smaller image, him at a society event with a woman, Kang So-yeon. The pieces clicked into place. So-yeon's fiancé worked in financial technology. He would have the skills to clone security credentials. He would have access to the building. And if he were working with the Jin syndicate, he'd have motive to frame an outsider. Amara was so absorbed in this revelation that she almost missed the subtle shift in the terminal's atmosphere. Men in dark clothing had entered, spreading out along the walls. Not airport security, something else. Their eyes scanned the crowd, methodical and predatory. She recognized one from a file she'd seen, a Jin syndicate enforcer. They were looking for her. Heart racing, Amara grabbed her bag and moved toward the nearest exit, trying to appear casual. She was halfway there when a hand grabbed her arm, pulling her behind a pillar. Park Do-won's familiar face appeared. "Don't run," he said quietly. "Jin's men are everywhere. We need to move quickly." Why would you help me?" "Because Jaemin sent me. We found evidence on Lee Jin-ho's devices. He's been feeding information to the Jin syndicate for months. Using So-yeon to access Kang operations." Before Amara could respond, shouts erupted across the terminal. One of Jin's men had spotted them. "This way!" Park pulled her toward a service corridor, speaking rapidly into his communication device. They emerged into the parking area where a black SUV waited, engine running. The door opened to reveal Jae-min himself, expression tense. "Get in! Now!" Amara hesitated only a second before climbing inside. The vehicle accelerated immediately, tires squealing as it merged into traffic. "How did you find me?" she asked as they sped away from the airport. "I put a tracker in your watch the day after the dinner," Jaemin replied matter-of-factly. "Standard procedure for high-value personnel." "High value?" She almost laughed. "You thought I was a spy." "I thought you might be many things." His eyes met hers. "I was wrong." The simple admission stunned her into silence. "Lee Jin-ho has been working for the Jin syndicate since before he met my sister," he continued, "using her to access our operations. The financial transfer was meant to look like your betrayal, but he got careless, left traces on his personal devices." "And So-yeon?" Pain flashed across his face. "She knew nothing. She's devastated." They drove in silence for several minutes before Amara spoke again. "I was leaving, going back to Lagos." "I know. You could have let me go. Let Jin's men find me. Solved your problem." Jaemin's jaw tightened. "You were never the problem, Amara." The way he said her name, soft, almost reverent, made her heart skip. "Then what am I?" she asked quietly. He didn't answer immediately, his eyes fixed on the road ahead. When he finally spoke, his voice had changed, less controlled, more raw. "Something I never expected to find again. Someone I can't afford to lose." The SUV pulled into an underground garage beneath an unmarked building. Park Do-won led them through a series of security checks to a heavily fortified conference room where several senior members of the Kang organization waited. Jaemin moved with purpose, taking position at the head of the table. When Amara hesitated near the door, he gestured to the empty chair at his right hand, a position of honor that made several members exchange glances. "The Jin syndicate has made their move," Jaemin announced without preamble. "Using Lee Jin-ho, they've attempted to compromise our financial operations and divide our leadership." Murmurs spread through the room. "Where is Lee Jin-ho now?" someone asked. "Being questioned," Park Do-won replied, his expression grim. He's providing useful information about Jin's operations. And what of the African woman? Another member nodded toward Amara. Her credentials were used in the breach. Before Jae-min could respond, the conference room door opened. Madame Kang entered, her face composed, but eyes bright with anger. "The woman has a name," she said sharply. "Ms. Okoye was targeted precisely because she was improving our security, because she was close to my son. The Jin Syndicate calculated that we would blame her rather than look within our own ranks." The room fell silent at her unexpected defense. "They were correct in their assessment," she continued, taking a seat. "We were quick to suspect an outsider rather than one of our own. That weakness nearly cost us dearly." Jae-min nodded to his mother before addressing the room again. "We have confirmed that the Jin Syndicate is planning a larger move against us. They have leveraged the information Lee Jin-ho provided to position themselves against our shipping operations in Busan. We will respond accordingly." The meeting continued with strategic planning, Amara occasionally providing input on digital security measures. Throughout, she was acutely aware of how Jae-min had positioned her, not as an outsider to be protected, but as a valued advisor at his side. When the meeting concluded, most members departed quickly, leaving only Jae-min, his mother, and Amara. Madame Kang approached, her expression softer than Amara had ever seen it. "My daughter is heartbroken," she said quietly. "She loved him truly." "I'm sorry," Amara replied, and meant it. "Betrayal from those closest hurts the most." Madame Kang studied her for a moment. "You are not what I expected, Miss Okoye." "Few people are what we expect, if we give them chance to show themselves fully." A small smile touched the older woman's lips. "Indeed." She turned to her son. "The meeting with the regional leaders is tomorrow. I assume Ms. Okoye will be accompanying you?" Jae-min looked to Amara. "If she chooses to stay." The question hung between them, not just about tomorrow's meeting, but about everything that might follow. "I have 3 weeks left on my contract," Amara said. "I don't leave jobs unfinished." After his mother left, Jaemin led Amara to a private office adjacent to the conference room. "You can return to Lagos after your contract concludes," he said, pouring them both tea. "I'll ensure your mother's medical care is covered for the next 5 years, regardless." "I don't want your charity." "Not charity. Payment for saving my organization from an attack we didn't see coming." He handed her a cup. "Your choice to stay or go will be exactly that. Your choice, without financial pressure." Amara accepted the tea, their fingers brushing briefly. "And if I choose to stay, so what then?" "Then we discover what exists between us without the complications of employer and employee, without suspicion or obligation." "There will always be complications, Jae-min. Your world ensures that." He moved closer. "Yes, but some complications are worth navigating." This time, when his hand reached for hers, neither pulled away. The regional meeting was held in an ancient temple complex outside Seoul, converted into a secure gathering place for leaders of various organizations across Asia. Amara wore a custom-designed outfit that blended Korean and Nigerian elements, a statement of both respect and identity. As they entered the main hall, she felt dozens of eyes tracking their movement. Jaemin walked with the confidence of someone born to power, nodding to various leaders. What surprised onlookers was not his presence, but the woman at his side, and how he positioned her as an equal, not a subordinate. Representatives from Japan, China, Russia, and across Southeast Asia watched with calculated interest as Kang Jae-min, heir to one of Korea's most powerful syndicates, introduced Amara Okoye, not as his employee or his woman, but as the architect of our future security. The message was clear. She was under his protection. She was valued for her mind, and she stood beside him, not behind him. When Jin's representatives arrived, tension crackled through the room, where Jaemin stepped forward to address the gathering. "The Jin Syndicate has attempted to infiltrate the Kang organization through deception and betrayal. They have stolen funds, compromised personnel, and violated the codes we all live by." His voice carried through the hall. "Their representative planted in my family has been discovered. Their digital attacks have been neutralized, and now, they will answer for these transgressions." What followed was political maneuvering at its finest. Alliances shifted, support was pledged, and by the end, the Jin Syndicate found itself isolated. Their recent expansion suddenly precarious as other organizations withdrew cooperation. Through it all, Amara observed the intricate dance of power with fascination. This world operated by its own rules, its own justice system, its own codes of honor that were simultaneously brutal and sophisticated. As the meeting concluded, Madame Kang approached them with Soyeon beside her. Jaemin's sister looked pale but composed, her grief carefully controlled. "Ms. Okoye," Soyeon said formally, "I owe you an apology. My relationship with Jinho blinded me. I contributed to the suspicion against you." "You loved him," Amara replied simply. "Love creates blind spots in all of us." Soyeon's expression softened slightly. "Perhaps you understand more than I realized." Her eyes shifted between Amara and her brother. "Take care of each other. This world rarely allows second chances." 2 months later, the Kang family gathered in a private ceremony space that combined elements of a traditional Korean pibik with Nigerian customs. Amara stood beside Jaemin, wearing a dress embroidered with symbols from both cultures. It wasn't a wedding, not yet. Both had agreed such a step required more time. Instead, this ceremony represented a formal recognition of their relationship, a declaration to both families of their commitment to a shared path. Madame Kang approached, carrying a small jade box. Inside rested a ring of intricately carved jade set in gold. "In our family," she explained, taking Amara's hand, "this ring passes to the woman who will stand beside the leader, not as a possession, but as a partner." She slid the ring onto Amara's finger. "My husband gave this to me 30 years ago. I give it to you with the hope that you bring our son the strength he needs." Amara's mother watched via video call from Lagos, tears streaming down her face as her daughter accepted this symbol from a culture worlds apart from their own. "In my family," Amara replied, presenting Madame Kang with a hand-woven coral and gold necklace she'd commissioned from Nigeria. "We believe coral represents the blood that connects generations. Gold represents the value of those connections. Together, they remind us that family transcends distance and difference." As Madame Kang accepted the gift, a new understanding passed between them. Respect born not from obligation, but from recognition of each other's strength. Later, as guests mingled in the garden, Jaemin led Amara to the same pavilion where they'd spoken months before. "Having second thoughts?" he asked, noticing her pensive expression. "Thinking about how much has changed," she replied. 6 months ago, I arrived in Seoul for a job. Now I'm part of a family I never expected, in a world I never imagined. Regrets?" She touched the jade ring, feeling its weight, not just of the stone, but of the history and future it represented. "In Lagos, my grandmother used to say that life's greatest blessings often arrive disguised as its greatest challenges." She smiled up at him. "You were certainly a challenge, Kang Jaemin." He laughed, the sound still rare enough to be precious. "As were you, Amara Okoye." As the Seoul skyline glittered below them, Jaemin took her hand, his expression growing serious. "In my world, trust has always been more dangerous than conflict. Trusting the wrong person can destroy everything." His eyes held hers. "But not trusting the right person, that's a different kind of destruction." "Trust is a risk," she acknowledged, "for both of us. The only risk worth taking." He drew her closer. "The only one that matters." In a world built on power and fear, they had found something neither expected, a partnership forged through suspicion and tested by betrayal. Something stronger than the forces that had tried to tear them apart. Trust, it turned out, was indeed the most dangerous risk of all, but also the most rewarding. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel for more captivating tales. Let me know in the comments what you thought about Amara and Jaemin's journey. Should I continue their story? Did you expect that twist with Soyeon's fiancé? Share your thoughts below, and don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss my next upload. Until next time, thanks for listening.